the glittering, gilded halls of the Imperium, wealth is both a blessing and a curse. The air is thick with the scent of lavish perfumes, while the sound of laughter echoes from feasts. But beneath the surface, the cost of this opulence is staggering. Those who thrive in the lap of luxury owe their position to the unspeakable sacrifices of millions, servitors, slaves, and the ever-present haunting shadows of the imperial bureaucracy. To live among the rich of the Imperium is to walk a razor's edge, where power and peril exist in a delicate, twisted balance. As you stand amidst the towering spires and sprawling estates of the elite, you are reminded that beneath the gold and grandeur lies a dark truth. Every inch of comfort is built on the backs of the countless souls who never see the light of wealth, who never taste the fine wines or wear the silks. The question echoes in your mind: what is the true cost of living among the Imperium's richest? If you find yourself drawn into this world, drawn to the unsettling yet irresistible pull of the Imperium's elite, then join us. Like, share, and subscribe as we uncover the hidden life of the rich in the galaxy's greatest empire, an empire built on secrets, sacrifices, and the slow grind of power. In the heart of the Imperium, where spires of gleaming metal cut through the sky and wealth flows like the rivers of an ancient, forgotten world, the rich live lives that most could scarcely imagine. But this life, this opulent existence, is not without its chains. Gold and marble may adorn every surface, and the air may hum with the soft murmurs of those too far removed from the world to remember its brutal realities. But there is no freedom in this gilded cage. The wealthy do not live for pleasure alone. They live for the illusion of control, the myth of immortality, and the desperate need to keep that which is fleeting from slipping through their grasp. In the sprawling estates of the Imperium's elite, the very walls breathe with the weight of power. They are adorned in the finest silks, their estates stocked with treasures from across the galaxy, relics of ancient wars, priceless artifacts, and strange devices that hum with a forgotten technology. The scent of incense and fine wines fills the air, masking the lingering scent of machinery that always hums in the background. Even the simplest pleasure is calculated, as if nothing in this world exists without purpose. The faint echo of the servants' footsteps on the polished floors becomes a reminder of their presence, of the system that upholds this world of privilege. Yet, beneath all of this opulence, something is amiss. The grandeur, the luxury, the power. They are not simply the result of wealth, but of an unspoken agreement, a constant surveillance that keeps everything in place. Every rich man or woman in the Imperium is watched, not just by their peers, but by the very system that props them up. The Imperium is a place of great ambition and ruthless politics, and those who sit at the top must constantly ensure their position is secure. Nothing in their world is ever truly private. Their every move is scrutinized by agents of the Adeptus Arbites, their thoughts monitored by the ever-present surveillance of the Adeptus Mechanicus, and their loyalty to the Emperor always in question. Every meal served is an exercise in power dynamics. The finest delicacies are presented in a show of wealth, but even the rich are not allowed to eat in peace. Their guests, carefully selected to ensure that no threat is present, circle them like vultures, each one eager to glean something, to find some weakness. The laughter around the dinner table often hides a more sinister reality. A reminder that every relationship is transactional, every gesture has a purpose, and nothing comes without cost. In their palatial estates, the rich are afforded every luxury. They sleep on silken sheets, surrounded by treasures, bathed in the warmth of firelight. Yet sleep is never fully peaceful. In the quiet moments before dawn, when the city outside is draped in a fog of ash, even the wealthiest are reminded of the terror that looms just beyond their gates. The Imperium is a galaxy of war, a universe where the enemies of mankind are forever at the door, waiting for a moment of weakness to strike. And so, the rich remain trapped within their own walls, prisoners to their power, prisoners to their wealth. In their gilded cage, they cannot help but be aware of the countless souls that toil outside their reach. For every bit of gold that adorns their walls, there are millions working in silence to supply the luxuries they take for granted. The servitors, the workers in the manufactorums, the slaves who build their estates, all give their lives so that these elites can live in comfort. It is a dark truth, one that is never spoken of but always felt in the deep, unsettled silence that fills their chambers at night. As the days pass and the city below grows more distant, the rich become ever more isolated from the reality of life in the Imperium. They retreat further into their ivory towers, surrounded by a cadre of servants, aides, and bodyguards. The real world is a place they no longer need to see. They only hear rumors, the whispers of rebellion, the news of the latest war, the discontent that simmers beneath the surface of the Imperium. These stories are distant, removed, as unreal to them as the lives of the peasants and laborers who serve them. But even so, they cannot entirely escape the truth that looms. No matter how high they climb, no matter how many riches they amass, they are still bound by the same forces that govern the rest of the Imperium, forces of fear, of politics, and of war. It is in these moments of stillness, when the fires burn low and the noise of the world fades into the distance, that the true cost of this life becomes clear. The rich may live surrounded by beauty, by luxury, by power, but they are also the most vulnerable. Every step they take is watched, every secret they harbor is known, and every action they make is a move in a game they cannot fully control. They may live in a gilded cage, but the bars of that cage are forged of their own making. The nights are the hardest. As the city below sleeps beneath its heavy veil of ash and smoke, the elite within their lofty chambers lie awake, haunted by a subtle, creeping unease. The grand estates, bathed in the glow of artificial suns, should offer peace, comfort even, but they never quite do. There is always a hum beneath the walls, a low drone from the machines that keep their world running, reminding them of the unseen servitors who toil endlessly in the depths below. These machines are both the guardians and the chains that hold them in place. For the wealthiest of the Imperium, every meal is a performance, a spectacle of excess. The finest meats, rare spices from the deepest reaches of the galaxy, and wines as ancient as the Emperor himself are served with great flourish. Yet, even in the midst of these luxuries, the aristocracy never feels completely safe. The walls of their estates, the guards standing sentinel at every entrance, and the carefully selected servants, each of them a silent reminder that the danger is never truly gone. The rich know their position is precarious. They may dine in the finest halls, surrounded by treasures beyond the imagination of ordinary men, but the price of their wealth is steep. And it is not just the constant threat of external enemies that gnaws at them, it is the ruthless politics of the Imperium itself. Every conversation, every glance, every gesture holds weight. Power in the Imperium is ever shifting, and even the smallest slip can mean ruin. Every aristocrat knows this truth, and so their every action is weighed, measured, calculated. They trust few, if any, and their closest allies may just be the ones waiting to betray them. In their own gilded cages, they are as trapped as the servitors who serve them, their every move dictated by the shadow of betrayal and the unyielding demands of power. The women and men who live among the riches of the Imperium are taught from birth to embrace the game of survival. The cleverest and the most ruthless rise to the top, while the weak are consumed by the forces that drive this empire. The lessons are simple. Trust nothing, fear everything, for every day is a battle, whether it is fought in the halls of power, in the hearts of the masses, or within the confines of one's own mind. Outside the estates, life is harsh. The streets are filled with the sounds of chaos, of war, of labor, of rebellion. But inside there is silence, broken only by the whispered conversations of the rich, speaking in soft, measured tones. Here, every word is calculated for its value, and even the softest sigh can carry meaning. A glance across the room is a message, a subtle signal, a call to action. The intrigues that unfold are not grand, not loud, but they are deadly, for they are played in the shadows where only the sharpest minds can see. And it is this silence that breeds a deeper, more insidious fear. For while the rich sit atop their golden thrones, they cannot help but be aware of the machinery that holds them there. The servitors, the black markets, the whispers in the streets. They are aware that their position is a delicate balance. The finest delicacies are made from the labor of millions, but what happens when the supply stops? What happens when the foundation begins to crack? In a galaxy at war, nothing is guaranteed. Still, they continue their charade. They gather in great halls, dressed in the finest silks, smiling false smiles as they drink, eat, and converse. They laugh at jokes that hold no meaning, speak of victories that are not their own, and pass time in the company of others who know the price of their existence. They are not fooling anyone, least of all themselves. Beneath the golden glamour lies the truth. Their lives are fragile, their wealth fleeting, and their power built on the suffering of countless others. The gilded cage, it seems, is a mirror. It reflects the very essence of the Imperium, an empire that claims to be the greatest in the galaxy, yet lives in constant fear of its own destruction. The rich may sit in their palaces, surrounded by treasures and luxuries, but they are never truly safe. They are forever vulnerable, forever caught in the snare of their own making. The cost of their wealth is not just measured in credits, but in lives. The servitors who toil without rest, the workers who slave in the depths of the manufactorums, the slaves who serve their every whim. It is a system built on sacrifice, and it is only a matter of time before it collapses under the weight of its own excess. And as the lights of the estates flicker out one by one, and the sound of the city's chaos rises to meet the heavens, the question lingers in the air: is this life truly worth the cost? For all their riches, the elite of the Imperium are no more free than the servitors who serve them. They are trapped in their gilded cage, prisoners to the very power they wield. Behind the glistening walls of the imperial palaces, there exists a silent, unnoticed army. They are the unseen hands that make the decadent lives of the rich possible, the unspoken force that upholds the luxuries of the aristocracy. They live in the shadows of the rich, unseen and forgotten, yet without them the walls of opulence would crumble. They are the servitors, The slaves, the servants who toil without recognition, bound in servitude by the power of the elite and the iron grip of the Imperium. The servitors' lives are a paradox. They are both an essential cog in the machine that keeps the wealthy alive in their splendor, and an expendable commodity, a tool to be used, broken, and discarded at the whim of those who control them. They exist in a world where their worth is measured in utility alone, where the value of their lives is defined by how much they can serve, how long they can endure. To them, freedom is an impossible dream, a thing never known, never felt. They are bound not just by chains of metal, but by chains of expectation, of duty, and of silence. The servitors are the heart of the Imperium's wealth, but they are also its forgotten soul. Their bodies are altered, reshaped, and twisted by the Adeptus Mechanicus to be efficient tools of labor. They no longer bear the marks of their humanity. Their faces are covered by faceless masks, their bodies stiff and mechanical, controlled by systems far beyond their understanding. In exchange for their servitude, they receive sustenance and the barest form of existence. It is a life without joy, without hope, a life spent in the service of those who have forgotten the price of their luxury. For the wealthy, the servitors are not even considered people. They are nothing more than machines. Tools that cook their meals, tend to their estates, carry out their every command. To the rich, the servitors are like the furniture, something to be maintained, but not something to be cared for. When a servitor breaks down, it is simply replaced, its memories and identity erased, its soul extinguished in the cold, clinical corridors of the Mechanicus. But there are those among the servitors who retain some semblance of their former selves. The most advanced servitors, those who have not been completely altered, still remember fleeting moments from their past lives, a face, a name, a taste. These fragments of their humanity are often their undoing. It is these lingering memories that make them dangerous to the elite, for when a servitor remembers too much, when it becomes too close to its past, it begins to feel again. And that is something the Imperium can never allow. The elite cannot allow the servitors to realize their humanity, to feel the weight of their lost lives. They must remain machines, cold and unfeeling, devoid of the very thing that would make them capable of rebellion. The servitors live in the shadows, their faces hidden from the world, their voices muted, their presence taken for granted. They do not eat at the same tables, do not share in the comforts of the wealthy. They do not know the warmth of a fire, the joy of a celebration, or the freedom of a life without chains. They live in the silence, working tirelessly to serve those who have more than they could ever imagine. And yet they are treated as less than human. At night, when the lights of the grand estates fade and the laughter of the rich dies down, the servitors return to their quarters. Their rooms are sparse, cold, lifeless places devoid of warmth or comfort. They sleep in silence, their bodies powered down for the night, awaiting the next day of labor. They have no rest, no reprieve from the endless cycle of servitude. It is a life that stretches on indefinitely, with no hope of change. There are whispers, of course, among the servitors, soft murmurs in the dark corners of their quarters. Some still remember the lives they once led, the families they had, the names they bore, the simple joys of existence. Some dream of escape, of freedom, but these dreams are quickly crushed. There is no escape from servitude, no release from the chains that bind them. The Imperium is vast, its reach infinite. There is nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The elite in their grand halls may never hear the whispers of rebellion that stir in the dark corners of their estates. They may never know the true cost of their wealth, the servitors who toil away in the shadows, their lives given over to the service of the rich. But there are others who understand. There are those who know the truth. The wealth of the Imperium is not built on the backs of the nobility, but on the broken, mechanical bodies of the servitors. It is their suffering that fuels the splendor of the rich, their pain that sustains the luxurious world in which the elite thrive. But as the night grows darker, the whispers grow louder. Some servitors begin to question their existence. They begin to remember more. They begin to wonder what it would be like to be free, to break the chains that bind them. And though the elite remain unaware of this quiet rebellion, they may one day find that the true cost of their wealth is not just the lives of the servitors they ignore, but the lives they will one day lose when those very servants rise against them. As dawn breaks over the towering spires of the rich, the servitors awaken from their mechanical slumber. Their bodies are cold and rigid, their minds clouded with the haze of partial memories that flicker like distant stars. They are led to their stations in silence, a grim procession of twisted, half-human forms, moving in time with the unyielding rhythm of the Imperium's demands. The rich may sleep soundly in their beds, but the servitors are always awake, always working, always laboring for the comforts of those who have long since forgotten their names. The servitors are not permitted rest, not true rest, not peace. Their lives are a constant cycle of toil and repair, a loop of duty that has no end. When one is damaged, it is taken to the mechanicus, where their bodies are mended, their minds wiped clean of memories, and they are returned to the work they were created for. To be repaired is to be reborn, but it is also to be lost, lost to oneself, lost to the world. The servitors may never know their pasts again. Their identities are stripped away, and what is left is a body that moves and obeys, but never truly lives. Their memories, their names, their lives, everything that once defined them, are lost forever in the sterile halls of the mechanicus. And yet, despite this erasure, despite the relentless grinding of their existence, there are moments of flickering consciousness, of fleeting glimpses of who they once were. It is in these moments that the servitors become most dangerous, for in the silence of the night, in the quiet of their quarters, they remember. They remember their families, their homes, the warmth of a touch or the sweetness of a song. These memories are fragile, but they are enough to ignite a spark of rebellion, a desire for something more. It is in the depths of their solitude that the true horror of their existence becomes clear. The servitors are not merely tools. They are people who have been broken, reassembled, and forced into an endless cycle of servitude. They are a living contradiction, part machine, part human, and always trapped between two worlds. The rich, in their ignorance, believe they are above such things. They see the servitors as nothing more than automata, mere tools in the vast machinery of the Imperium. But the servitors are not mere machines. They are the living testament to the price of luxury, the cost of wealth, and the shadow that hangs over the Imperium's grandiose life. In their silence, the servitors suffer. They endure the endless labor without question, without complaint. But it is not peace that they feel. It is not contentment. It is a cold, gnawing emptiness that gnaws at their very souls. They have no hope of escape, no hope of freedom. They are bound to a life of endless toil, and in that endless grind, they begin to fade. Their memories dull, their identities erode, until they are nothing more than shadows of their former selves. Yet within the confines of their servitude, a dark irony takes shape. The servitors, those who have lost their names, their memories, and their humanity, are the very ones who hold the power to bring the grand estates of the Imperium crashing down. The servitors, those discarded pieces of the elite's opulent world, are the ones who could one day tear it all apart. They are the forgotten ones, the silent revolutionaries whose cries will never be heard by the aristocracy, but whose actions will reverberate throughout the Imperium. As the day unfolds and the rich continue their lives in their golden cages, the servitors toil away, their bodies moving like clockwork, their minds adrift in a fog of partial memories and lost desires. They are the hidden force that makes the wealth of the Imperium possible, and they are the ones who will one day reveal the true cost of that wealth. The rich may live in their gilded palaces surrounded by luxury and decadence, but it is the servitors who will decide the fate of the Imperium. In the darkest corners of the estates, in the quiet moments when the world outside fades into oblivion, the servitors are beginning to remember. They are beginning to dream. And one day, those dreams will become a nightmare for the rich, when the forgotten servants rise up and reclaim what was stolen from them, their lives, their memories, and their freedom. The halls of the rich are filled with the finest goods the Imperium has to offer, priceless treasures from the farthest reaches of the galaxy, rare artifacts stolen from the tombs of long-dead races, and luxuries too numerous to count. But there is one luxury that they do not see, one that fuels their decadent world, the black market. Beneath the gleaming surface of wealth and excess, hidden in the shadows of the Imperium's grandest palaces, a darker economy thrives, an economy that feeds the insatiable hunger of the elite. The black market is not a single entity. It is a network, a tangled web of illicit trades, silent deals, and unspoken agreements. It stretches across the Imperium like an invisible undercurrent, feeding the desires of the rich and powerful, while simultaneously enslaving those who are caught in its grip. In the labyrinthine back alleys of hive cities, in the darkened chambers of forbidden temples, and in the abandoned manufactorums of forgotten worlds, the true commerce of the Imperium takes place. Here, nothing is off limits, and no price is too high. The rich of the Imperium do not simply buy with their wealth, they buy with their secrets, their influence, and their souls. The aristocracy, in their detached and complacent state, do not realize that much of the wealth they enjoy is built on the backs of the black market. Weapons that should never be seen outside the military are sold in quiet deals. Relics of ancient power are bartered in darkened vaults, and forbidden technology that should be left in the hands of the Adeptus Mechanicus is traded like any other commodity. These deals are not just transactions. They are investments in power, in control, and in the preservation of status. The market is dangerous, filled with those who are willing to do anything to gain favor with the elite. And yet it remains an essential pillar of the grand imperial system. It is not just the trade in goods that makes this market thrive. It is the trade in favors. The powerful sell their influence, their loyalty, and even their lives to ensure that they remain on top. A single whispered word, a subtle gesture in the right direction can change the course of entire sectors. And the black market thrives on this, on the promises, the whispered bargains, and the untraceable debts that are incurred.
No one is ever truly free of these obligations. A favor called in now might mean a life saved, but tomorrow it may cost a man his soul. The market runs on trust, and in the Imperium, trust is bought and sold like any other commodity. The elite, in their extravagance, are blind to the true cost of their indulgence. They may wear the finest garments, drink the rarest wines, and own treasures that would make kings of old envious, but they do so at a price. Each item in their collection has a story, a history of violence, deceit, and corruption. Every luxury they enjoy has been paid for with the suffering of others. The true nature of the riches they consume is hidden from them, buried beneath the veneer of wealth and beauty that surrounds them. They are insulated from the horrors that fuel their lavish lifestyles, and they remain blissfully ignorant of the darkness that seeps into every corner of their lives. But even within this market, there are rules. Unspoken laws govern the transactions that occur within the shadows. These rules are not written, and they are not enforced by the law of the Imperium. They are enforced by the whispered word of power, by the weight of influence, and by the fear of retribution. To break these rules is to invite disaster that is often swift and final. The black market is not for the faint of heart. It is a place where trust is fleeting, where loyalty can be bought and sold, and where betrayal is inevitable. For the rich, the market is a game, a place where they can wield their power and indulge their desires without consequence. But for those on the other side of the deals, the traders, the dealers, the criminals, it is a life of danger, where survival is never guaranteed. They are the ones who serve the elite, who provide the goods, the information, and the favors that keep the power structure intact. They are the invisible hands that feed the insatiable appetites of the rich, and in return, they are given scraps, if they are lucky. It is in this dark, hidden world that the true cost of wealth becomes clear. The elite may never see the bloodstains on the treasures they collect, never know the pain of those who have died in their pursuit of wealth. But the black market, this undercurrent of power and corruption, makes clear that there is no luxury without sacrifice. The rich may walk in their palatial homes, surrounded by luxury and indulgence, but they are blind to the darkness that feeds their world. They are blissfully unaware of the price that is paid, the suffering endured, and the lives destroyed to keep them at the top. In the shadows, the black market thrives, unseen, untouchable, and essential. It is the dark side of the Imperium's glittering facade, the unseen force that keeps the elite afloat, and it is here, in this web of shadow and deceit, that the true nature of the Imperium is revealed. For the wealth of the elite is not a simple reflection of their power. It is a reflection of the darkness that lies at the heart of the Imperium itself. Beneath the glittering surface of luxury, where the glittering estates and golden halls obscure the darker realities of the Imperium, the rich partake in a game they do not fully understand. The goods they consume, the pleasures they indulge in, the power they wield, all of it is fed by the unseen market that thrives in the shadows. But the aristocracy remains blissfully ignorant of this. There is little reason to question where the rare artifacts come from, or the forbidden technologies that slip into their hands without a whisper. The trade is a closed loop, and the truth never sees the light of day. The market itself is a place of shadows, where dealers gather in hidden vaults and darkened chambers, exchanging whispers, coded messages, and precious commodities that cannot be found anywhere else.
Within these shadowed walls, deals are struck that would make even the most hardened criminal recoil, for the stakes are always the same: power. But power in the Imperium is not just a matter of politics or military might. It is a matter of knowledge, of secrets, of forbidden items that could shift the balance of the galaxy if they were to fall into the wrong hands. The wealth of the rich is built on the spoils of war, of secretive raids against enemies long forgotten, of ancient relics unearthed from the tombs of the Necron or the twisted ruins of long-dead civilizations. The rich may display these items with pride, flaunting them as trophies of their success, but they never consider the cost. Who died to retrieve them? Who bled to bring these treasures to their doorsteps? They are unaware that the price of their indulgence is not measured in credits alone, but in lives. Lives of both those who serve them and those who sacrifice for them. But as the market grows ever darker, so too does the tension that underlies it. For the dealers and traders who bring these forbidden goods to the rich are not merely criminals, they are survivors in a system where the rules are fluid and loyalty is fleeting. To navigate this world requires more than wealth or power. It requires ruthlessness. In the cutthroat underworld of the black market, a single misstep can be deadly. The traders live in a constant state of paranoia, never fully trusting anyone, for the consequences of betrayal are swift and lethal. For the elite, the black market is an invisible force, a thing that exists outside their awareness. They cannot see the dark deals being struck in the back rooms, nor can they understand the power that is quietly shifting in the hands of those who operate outside the law. They remain untouchable, above the petty concerns of criminals, living in a world of luxury that they believe is their birthright. Yet they are at the mercy of the very market they know nothing about. The items they cherish, rare weapons, ancient relics, forbidden knowledge, are often the result of bloodshed and dark deals that could easily slip from their grasp if the wrong hands took control. The hidden market is more than just a commodity trade. It is a network of influence, a place where alliances are made and broken in the span of a single breath. There are no laws here, only favors, debts, and secrets. The rich and powerful deal in much more than material wealth. They deal in promises, favors, and connections. In the black market, a favor can be worth more than gold, and a single word spoken in confidence can change the course of entire sectors. But the price of these favors is never easy, and those who owe debts find themselves entangled in a web from which escape is nearly impossible. And yet, even as the elite continue to indulge in their luxuries, they remain blind to the forces they are feeding. Their wealth, their power, their comfort, all of it comes at a cost. The black market, that hidden engine that drives their empire of excess, is fueled by the suffering of countless others, servants, slaves, criminals, and outcasts who live in the shadows and work in silence. They are the ones who make the wealth of the elite possible, and yet they are the ones whose lives are worth the least. But even in the darkest corners of the market, there are whispers. Whispers of change. Whispers of a world where the power of the elite is no longer secure, where the black market no longer exists to serve them. It is a dangerous thought, a revolutionary thought, but it is a thought that is growing in strength. The wealth of the Imperium, built on secrets and shadows, may one day be brought into the light. The market may one day be exposed for what it truly is, the beating heart of a broken, corrupt system. And when that day comes, the rich will realize the truth of the old saying, no luxury, no power, No wealth can last forever. The market that has fed them for so long may one day turn against them, and the very forces they have relied on for their comfort may be the ones that bring their empire crashing down.
In the vast and unforgiving expanse of the Imperium, where every breath is a struggle for survival, the elite have one singular obsession: immortality. It is the crown jewel of their decadent world, the ultimate promise they seek to make good on, the desire to preserve their wealth, their power, and themselves. But immortality comes at a cost, and that price is paid in ways that the rich dare not acknowledge. The wealthy, bathed in the light of their own arrogance, believe that the rules of the universe do not apply to them. Their coffers are endless, their influence boundless, and their technology far beyond that of lesser men. But even they cannot escape the inevitable truth that time waits for no one. The years pass, the seasons change, and death comes for them all, no matter how much wealth they have hoarded, or how many secrets they have hidden away. And so, the elite turn to the darkest, most forbidden arts to cheat death itself. The quest for immortality becomes an obsession, a constant pursuit that consumes them even as it transforms them into something less than human. Cloning technology, gene manipulation, and forbidden experiments in the deepest, most secretive corners of the Imperium are the tools they use to extend their lives. But immortality is not a gift. It is a curse, one that demands sacrifices no one is willing to pay. To preserve their power, the elite seek to transcend their mortal forms, to preserve their minds, their consciousness, and their very souls. In the grand manufactorums of the Adeptus Mechanicus, entire sectors of research are dedicated to finding ways to keep the powerful alive, be it through the art of cloning, the transference of the soul into mechanical bodies, or the manipulation of genetic codes to stave off the inevitable decay of age. The technology exists, hidden away in the deepest vaults, but its cost is staggering. To pursue immortality is to surrender one's humanity, to become something that is no longer truly alive. The bodies they create are vessels, and the minds that remain within them are prisoners. For those who dare to walk this path, there is no going back. They become more machine than man, their once human forms twisted and deformed by the very technology they seek to wield. The wealthy may sit in their grand estates, surrounded by their opulence, but they are no longer truly human. Their minds, preserved in artificial bodies, drift endlessly through the corridors of their own creation, forever separated from the world they once ruled. It is a fate that few can truly understand, for those who pursue immortality pay a terrible price. They lose the very thing they sought to preserve. But the cost is not always so obvious. Not all immortality is marked by the transformation of flesh into metal. Some of the richest in the Imperium turn to darker arts, to forbidden rituals whispered about in hushed tones in the depths of the nobility's estates. They seek to cheat death not through technology, but through the manipulation of the very fabric of life itself. The forbidden rituals, the blood sacrifices, and the twisted pacts with ancient, unknowable forces are the tools they use. In these rituals, the line between man and demon, between life and death, becomes blurred, and as they sacrifice more of their humanity to achieve their goals, they become ever more monstrous, ever more distant from the world they once ruled. The elite, however, do not see these sacrifices for what they are. They believe that immortality is a gift, a divine right even. They hide behind the shimmering walls of their estates, in their marble halls, never once considering the cost of the lives they have destroyed in their pursuit of endless existence. They do not know the price of the power they wield, the countless souls that have been consumed by their desire to cheat death. They live in their grand palaces, untouched by the suffering of those who serve them, blind to the blood that has been spilled to keep them alive. But the whispers grow louder with each passing year. The bodies they create, the machines they inhabit, begin to break down. The technology fails, the rituals falter, and the memories that once sustained them fade into oblivion. They are no longer the rulers they once were. They are shadows, trapped in their own creations, unable to escape the cage they have built for themselves. The truth is clear. Immortality is a lie. It is an illusion created by the desperate need to hold on to power, to maintain control, to never let go. And yet, despite the terrible cost, the pursuit of immortality continues. The rich, blinded by their arrogance and consumed by their fear of death, refuse to acknowledge the truth. They continue their dark experiments, their forbidden rituals, their quest to transcend the mortal realm, all while the galaxy around them burns. They are so far removed from the world that they no longer see the suffering that fuels their desires, the lives that are lost in their wake. In the end, they are nothing more than broken souls, lost in their own illusions. The very technology they use to preserve their power has trapped them, turning them into something monstrous, something less than human. They have lost their humanity in their pursuit of immortality, and in doing so, they have lost the very thing they sought to protect, their ability to live. The wealth, the power, the eternal life, they are all empty promises, lies whispered in the dark corners of the Imperium. For in the end, the cost of immortality is far too high, and no one can ever truly escape the shadow of death. The Imperium of man, with its infinite expanse and unyielding grip on the stars, is a place that thrives on paradoxes. It is an empire that claims to represent the light of humanity, yet its soul is consumed by darkness. It is a civilization that boasts of its endless might and eternal glory, but beneath the surface it is haunted by the specter of decay, corruption, and despair. The rich, in their gleaming palaces, may bask in the false warmth of their power, but they too are bound by the same fate that hangs over all of mankind, the inevitability of entropy, the crushing weight of time, and the shadow of their own monstrous empire. The truth that they refuse to acknowledge, that they desperately seek to avoid, is that their wealth, their power, their immortality are nothing more than fleeting illusions. They live in a world built on suffering and sacrifice, a world where every victory is hollow, and every moment of peace is a prelude to the next inevitable war. For all their treasures, all their indulgences, the rich of the Imperium are no different from the peasants they so disdain. They are bound by the same laws of reality, the same crushing forces that shape the universe. Their wealth is a temporary balm, their immortality a fragile dream that will one day shatter, leaving nothing but ruin in its wake. As the galaxy spins endlessly in the void, there is a creeping awareness among the elites, a quiet dread that lingers just beneath the surface of their indulgent lives. They know, deep down, that the universe is not theirs to command. They may possess the most powerful armies, the most advanced technologies, and the most decadent luxuries, but they cannot escape the truth. The Imperium is dying. It is a dying beast, wounded and rotten from the inside, and no amount of wealth, no amount of power can save it. The rich may live in their gilded cages, surrounded by treasures and pleasures, but they are only ever a few steps away from the abyss. The greatest irony of the elite is that they have all the wealth in the galaxy, and yet they are the most vulnerable. The very society they have built, with its layers of bureaucracy, its vast armies, and its uncountable servants, is a fragile edifice. The slightest tremor could bring it all crashing down. The black markets, the shadowy deals, the countless betrayals that keep the machinery of the Imperium running, all of these are but temporary fixes, band-aids over wounds too deep to heal. The wealth of the elite is sustained by these dark practices, but it is ultimately unsustainable. The very system that supports them is rotting from within, and they are blind to it. The rich see only the surface, the grandeur, the splendor, but they do not see the decay that festers in the heart of their empire. There are whispers in the dark corners of the Imperium, rumors of rebellion, of factions within the aristocracy who seek to tear down the very system that has made them rich. Some speak of a time
when the power of the elite will be broken, when the servitors, the workers, and the peasants will rise up and take what is theirs. These rumors are dismissed as madness by the rich, but the truth is more insidious. The very foundation of the Imperium is built on violence and exploitation, and the inevitable collapse of the system is not a question of if, but when. And when that collapse comes, when the rich are brought low and their palaces crumble into dust, they will learn the harshest lesson of all. The price of their wealth is too high. The sacrifices, the bloodshed, the suffering of the countless souls who have been used and discarded, they will not be forgotten. The rich will face the consequences of their actions, and the darkness they have ignored will consume them. The empire of man is a dying empire, and the wealth of its elite is nothing more than a gilded coffin, one that will be buried beneath the weight of its own rot. As the shadows lengthen across the galaxy, there is no place for the rich to hide. They may seek solace in their wealth, their power, and their immortality, but these things will not save them. They are as mortal as the servitors they use, as fragile as the empire they control. The darkness will find them, and in the end, it will be the darkness that claims them. No amount of gold, no amount of influence will protect them from the inevitable fall. For the true rulers of the Imperium are not the rich. They are the forces that lie beneath the surface, the ones who have been forgotten, the ones who have been oppressed. They are the servants, the workers, the peasants, and the slaves, those whose lives have been sacrificed to keep the empire running, and one day they will rise. And when they do, they will bring the empire crashing down. The rich may live in their gilded palaces now, but their time is running out. The darkness is coming, and nothing can stop it.